UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Murphy, full card predictions. I'm going on vacation very soon, so this is going to be a very quick video, much quicker than all the rest of the videos I make. I'm just going to jump right into it, not waste any time. Emily Ducote, Vanessa Demopoulos. I'm going with Emily Ducote. I don't like Vanessa Demopoulos' striking. I think Emily Ducote is a better striker. Sure, she lost Angela Hill and Lupita Godinez. Not terrible losses in the grand scheme of things. She outstruck Ashley Yoder rounds 2 and 3. I just think overall, Vanessa Demopoulos, she needs to get her grappling going in order to win. If she doesn't do that, she's not going to win. So Emily Ducote is my pick to win there. Not much else to say. Elatong Haley versus Clayton Rodriguez. I like Clayton Rodriguez here. His few fights in the UFC, CJ Vergara fight, I know he lost that one. That was at flyweight. Actually, his fight against Shannon Ross was also at flyweight. His first fight at bantamweight was against Fareed Basharat. This is a bantamweight fight. Fareed Basharat submitted him in round one. I don't think Elatong Haley has that level of grappling. Shannon Ross knocked him out. Sure, Shannon Ross isn't very good, but still, a win's a win. And then CJ Vergara, as I said, looked really good in round one, round two, and three. Lost those two, but still was a very competitive fight. Clayton Rodriguez is the younger guy at 28 years old. To Alatong Haley being 32. I don't like Alatong Haley. He got dominated by Casey Kenny, and he got dominated by Chris Gutierrez, 30-27 in both of those fights. In fact, one of the judges gave Casey Kenny a 30-25, interestingly enough. He beat Chad Anheliger, and he beat Kevin Krug in round one. And then he had a draw with Gustavo Lopez. Won rounds 1 and 2 very narrowly, was not a very impressive performance against Gustavo Lopez. And in round 3, he was getting pieced up on the feet, and he grabbed the cage, and he got a point deduction. So would have won the fight 29-28 probably, but he grabbed the cage. It ended up being a draw. Did not look good in that fight regardless. I think Clayton Rodriguez is the much more technical striker. Alatong Haley does have power, so there is a threat, a power threat coming from Alatong, but as far as the technical striking, it should be Clayton Rodriguez's fight to lose, as long as he doesn't get either dominated in the wrestling, which I don't see happening, or if he doesn't get knocked out, which I also don't see happening. So give me Clayton Rodriguez just to outstrike Elatong Haley. Pierre Rodriguez, Ariane Carnelossi. I'm going with Ariane Carnelossi here. Pierre Rodriguez is not very, I don't think either woman here is amazing, but I will pick Ariane Carnelossi. She's been off for 2 years, which is obviously a concern and taking a lot of time off. I don't like that, but I also don't like the game of Pierre Rodriguez. Both women's grappling is very bad, in my opinion. So I don't think either woman's going to have a grappling edge here over the other. Ariane Carnelossi can get taken down, so can Pierre. I think in the striking, Pierre Rodriguez, I mean, she beat Sam Hughes and Kay Hansen. Not really super impressive there. As far as Carnelossi, she spots at least a somewhat decent level of competition. Lupita Godinez, Angela Hill, Nala Yang's not good, but you get the point. Ariane Carnelossi, I feel like, spots a slightly better level of competition. She has more experience. They're the exact same age of 31 years old, so it's not like Pierre or Ariane is like super young and has room to improve. As far as what they are, Carnelossi also training out of the same gym as Jean Matsumoto, so you could probably tell from her picture she might be on some PEDs. I wouldn't be surprised if she is. So she should have the power advantage, strength advantage. And I think if the fight plays out on the feet, Ariane Carnelossi probably ends up getting it done as an underdog. So I am going to pick Ariane Carnelossi. Abus Magomedov, Warley Alves. I'm picking Abus Magomedov here. I don't like Warley Alves at 185. I think in his fight against Ikram Liskrov, he got knocked out in round 1. I understand Ikram Liskrov is a good prospect at middleweight. However, Abus Magomedov, very dangerous early, as seen in his fight against Dustin Stoltzfus, front kicked him in the face and then finished him with ground and pound in about 20 seconds. His last 2 fights, Sean Strickland, Kyle Burallo, those guys, in my opinion, Kyle Burallo's top 10 level, maybe even top 5 level. Sean Strickland's a former champion, so no shame in losing to Strickland or Kyle. Sean Strickland fight, he dominated round 1, and then round 2, he ended up getting finished. Got basically a cardio dump, adrenaline dump, whatever you want to say. And then Kyle Burallo, he had 2 very competitive striking rounds in the first 2, and then round 3, he ended up he got dropped. He got dropped and ended up getting out grappled in round 3. I don't think Warley Alves will be able to exploit the cardio against Abus Magomedov. I think this is a setup fight on the side of Abus to win this one, so I am going to go with Abus Magomedov to beat Warley Alves here. Tamiris Vidal, Melissa Gatto. I'm I'm picking Melissa Gatto. She has a grappling edge. I don't think Tamiris Vidal is very good. Even in her striking, I saw her throw multiple low kicks, no setup at all. Almost like she's kind of like charging in and throwing a low kick with her hands down. So if Melissa Gatto is any semblance of fight IQ, she'll take her down, catch a kick, take her down, shoot a double leg, however you need to get her down. I think she's very open on the feet as well, but the path of least resistance for Melissa Gatto is to take Tamiris Vidal down. Montserrat Rondon was able to take her down, so I believe Melissa Gatto will also be able to do that. Gatto went to a split with Lipsky. The Tracy Cortez fight, she lost that one, but Tracy Cortez is a very good wrestler, and the fact that she was able to take her down multiple times, even get to her back, means that I think she will be able to do the exact same thing to Tamiris Vidal, as well as Melissa Gatto is fighting at 135. First bantamweight fight, that is the only concern, but outside of that, Melissa Gatto, it's her fight to lose. Omar C versus Tuco Tokos. I'm going with Omar C here. Omar C, he's been training for this. Tuco's taking this on short notice. Omar C was scheduled to fight Rodolfo Bellato, and then he was scheduled to fight, who else was it? Rodolfo Bellato and Antonio Tricoli. Both of them pulled out, so now it's Tuco. I saw a few Tuco fights, not super impressed. I mean, sure, he trains with good competition, trains with Brendan Allen, guys like Hillcliffe, but I don't think just because you train with good competition means you're an amazing fighter. You know what I mean? As far as the Omar C side, he's definitely more physical. He's stronger. He should have the speed, explosiveness. He's been training for this fight. He's undefeated. Tuco has lost a few fights. Got knocked out by Ming Yang Zhang, for example. Not a terrible loss. Ming Yang Zhang is a very powerful guy. So I get that. But still, Tuco, even in his wins, he's not super impressive to me. I feel like he can get taken down. I've seen him get taken down before. He is a black belt, so he has a few dangerous submissions. But Omar C, as long as he doesn't get submitted, I think he wins this fight. I think he should be able to outgrapple Tuco. And when Omar C gets on top, he is very dangerous with ground and pound. So I'm going to pick Omar C to get it done over Tuco as long as he doesn't get submitted, which I think he should be safe here. Headliner of the prelims, like I said, I'm running through this very quickly. Don't have too much time to break this card down like other cards, but UFC 302, I'll be able to have a very detailed, in-depth breakdown. But for this one, Tom Nolan, Victor Martinez. I'm going with Tom Nolan. Bounce back fight for Tom. Victor Martinez got knocked out in round one by Jordan Levitt. I think Tom Nolan will implement a very similar game plan. Basically, bull rush Victor Martinez round one, swarm him, and start to land very damaging strikes. And I think Tom Nolan gets him out of there in round one. I think Tom Nolan, his fight against Nicholas Mota, I understand he got knocked out. People don't like Nicholas Mota. It is what it is. First fight in the UFC. You got to kind of have the UFC nerves for your debut. And Nicholas Mota is a very powerful guy, so getting hit by him is not the same as getting hit by Victor Martinez. I think Tom Nolan will be able to eat anything that Victor Martinez throws and just be able to kind of walk through it and find a finish here in round one. I don't think Martinez will get the grappling going either against Nolan. I think Nolan should be fine here. Just kind of, like I said, rushing in and just swarming Victor Martinez, similar to how Levitt did, and he'll find the first round win, in my opinion. Already onto the main card, Angela Hill, Luana Pinheiro. I'm going with Luana Pinheiro. I don't think Angela Hill, I think she's starting to decline in her fight against Denise Gomez. I know she won that one, but she was getting lit up in round one. She got hit clean a bunch of times. Against Mackenzie Dern, she got dropped in round one. She got dropped bad. She got out-grappled a majority of the fight and lost that one. I didn't like that look against Mackenzie Dern. I just think Luana Pinheiro, she slows down in fights very significantly, which is the only concern I have here if Angela Hill takes over in rounds 2 and 3. But round one, I think Luana Pinheiro wins round one at a very high clip. I think Angela Hill wins round 3 at a high clip. And I think round 2 is the deciding round. And at plus 130, as an underdog, I'm willing to take the risk that Luana Pinheiro can get round 2 against Angela Hill. I think she throws with more intent. I think she throws harder. She's a more damaging puncher. So if it goes to the scorecards and you say who does more damage, I think Luana Pinheiro will do more damage in rounds 1 and 2. I also think the grappling, it probably will cancel out, but if I had to say, I think Luana Pinheiro does have a grappling edge over Angela Hill, so I am going to take Luana Pinheiro to get it done in this one as an underdog. Moving along up the main card, Adrian Yanez, Vinicius Salvador. Vinicius Salvador is moving up to bantamweight here to fight Adrian Yanez. Yanez, this is a setup fight. Not much else to say about it. Vinicius Salvador is not very good. He beat Shannon Rouse in the Contender Series, big whoop. Beat Victor Altamir or lost to Victor Altamirano and CJ Vergara in his last two fights. Victor Altamirano, CJ Vergara, losing those two. Now you're fighting Adrian Yanez, a guy who is a very good boxer. Vinicius Salvador is also pretty much a boxer. Leaves his hands down a lot. You don't want to leave your hands down against Yanez. If he clips you, he will hurt you. Yanez, his only two losses in the UFC, lost to Rob Font and Jonathan Martinez. Rob Font and Jonathan Martinez are a killer level of competition. I mean, Rob Font's a top 10 guy, Jonathan Martinez, top 15 guy. So no shame there whatsoever. Jonathan Martinez, his leg kicks are insane. I picked Aldo to beat Martinez, but regardless, Martinez still is a very good fighter. So is Rob Font. No shame in those losses for Yanez. He just got beat by the better strikers. Vinicius Salvador is not a better striker. This fight will take place on the feet. Yanez will stuff any takedown attempts or any grappling that Salvador brings to him. And I think Yanez finds a knockout, gets back on track here. The UFC is giving him a layup in Vinicius Salvador, who's not very good. So, and the level of competition completely on the side of Yanez. So I think the UFC still sees something in this guy. Do I think Yanez will be a champion? No, I don't. But I do think Yanez is good enough to be able to beat this level of competition. Featured fight, Ramiz Brahimaj, Themba Gorimbo. I'm going with Themba Gorimbo. I understand Ramiz Brahimaj has very good grappling, but realistically, his grappling threat is very nullified after round one. Round one, he's very dangerous. He's very explosive as far as being able to get to your back and submit you. He has submitted a few guys in the UFC, Sasha Platnikov and Michael Gilmore. But if you look at those two guys, I mean, those two guys are very those two guys are very low level of competition, very low level. Michael Gilmore and Sasha are both not in the UFC anymore. And then the losses Ramiz had, he obviously you saw everyone remembers the ear injury where his ear is hanging off against Max Griffin, and then the Court McGee fight where Court McGee actually dropped him in round one. It might have been round two, either round one or two. He dropped him. I don't think he looked great in the Court McGee fight. Court McGee was able to take him down a few times as well, and that was an older, like 38, 39-year-old Court McGee. So I think Gorimbo, sure, he has to be careful in round one, right? Round one, there's going to be a serious threat of a submission for Ramiz Brahimaj, but I don't understand not a lot of people, but I've seen some people on Ramiz this week. Outside of round one submission, how does he win? I think Themba is the more well-rounded fighter. I think in the grappling, sure, Ramiz can win. But outside of round one in the grappling, I think Themba, he's been fighting recently. Ramiz hasn't fought in 2 years. Themba Gorimbo's been, training very hard for this. He's got a ton of motivation, got a house from The Rock. I feel like the UFC is trying to boost this guy up. The UFC is trying to give this guy a winnable fight. And I think Themba, even his striking, I don't think his striking is like anything to write home, like super, super great. But if Court McGee can drop you, I think Themba has the power to drop you and hurt you as well. So I think Themba Gorimbo gets it done. He has to watch out in round one. But if Themba lands a big overhand right, similar to this fight against Pete Rod, if he lands one of those overhand rights again, he can definitely knock out Ramiz Brahimaj or TKO him for sure. So I'm going to go with Themba Gorimbo in this one. Co-main event, we have Chaos Williams, Carlston Harris. I'm going with Chaos Williams reluctantly because I understand that Carlston Harris is a very dangerous grappler. He submitted Jeremiah Wells after being dominated for 2 rounds, beat Jared Gooden, took him down quite a few times. Got spinning, took the spinning hook kick and got finished by Shavkat. No shame there. Shavkat Rakhmonov is one of the best in the division. A lot of people think Shavkat will be a future champion. And then his other 2 fights in the UFC, beat Christian Aguilera round 1 submission, and then knocked out Impa Kasanganay. So Carlston Harris, he does have a danger factor with him, but I think on the feet, Chaos Williams, much more dangerous on the feet. Chaos Williams has legit power, more power than Carlston Harris on the feet for sure. Carlston Harris, I feel like, has the better jiu-jitsu, better grappling game, but how does he get it there? I don't think Chaos Williams will get taken down a bunch of times by Carlston Harris. I think Chaos Williams, much younger fighter, 30 years old to 36, about to be 37-year-old Carlston Harris. And I feel like for Harris, not all of his fights, but a lot of his fights are kind of submission or bust. he was on his way to losing against Jeremiah Wells. Jeremiah Wells dominated him for 2.5 rounds before getting submitted. So I think, sure, you have to be careful about the grappling, about the anaconda threat of Carlson Harris. He does have a real threat there. But on the side of Chaos Williams, you look at his last few, Rolando Bedoya, a ton of volume, a ton of output in that one, won a split. Lost a split to Randy Brown, who's borderline top 15 level, right around that, top 15, top 20. Beat Miguel Baeza, knocked him out, beat Matt Semmelsberger, and then lost him Michel Pereira, who we saw Michel Pereira. He's been amazing in his last few fights. So, yeah, I think overall, Chaos Williams, younger guy, ton of power. I think on the feet, he has a big advantage over Carlson Harris. If the fight hits the mat, I do favor Carlson Harris, but it's not like Carlson Harris is like, as soon as he gets you down, he's going to submit you. You know what I mean? He's kind of one of those opportunistic guys who, if he sees an opening, he'll take it, but he's not like going to dominate you for the entire fight. So I'm going to take Chaos Williams to get this one done in the co-main event. And lastly, main event of the evening, Edson Barboza, Leroy Murphy. I'm actually going to take Leroy Murphy here over Edson Barboza. A lot of people, 55%, are picking Barboza as an underdog. I get why. The Sadiq Youssef fight left a little bit to be desired. He got rocked and hurt bad against Sadiq Youssef. He's been hurt in a lot of fights. He beat Billy Quarantillo, Billy Q. We've seen how Billy Q looked against Yusuf Salal. Yusuf Salal dominated Billy Q even worse than Edson. Well, I guess maybe not. They probably dominated the same level. They both finished him, but regardless, Bryce Mitchell, Giga Chikadze, he got finished by Giga, got dropped by Bryce Mitchell, dominated completely. He had no chance against Bryce Mitchell whatsoever. And I understand Bryce Mitchell is a really good grappler, but overall, I think Edson Barboza, he's 38 years old. He's starting to decline. And I understand post USADA, he's in great shape. There's a bunch of things you can say about him. Leroy Murphy reminds me of Leon Edwards. Um, and I get it. Like, they're not the exact same fighter, but just in the sense of Leroy Murphy is very dangerous. I think he has a more dangerous game than Edson Barboza in this stage of his career, right? Edson Barboza in his prime, he had, amazing knockouts, super, super dangerous, but he's 38 now. Leroy Murphy, I feel like, could find a finish here. If Leroy Murphy lands a big right hand, he could hurt Edson Barboza and finish him. Sadiq Youssef was almost able to finish him in round one, so I think Leroy Murphy also was live to finish this fight. And I just think he has that, I feel like, let me know what you guys think. If you guys think the same thing, let me know. I just think Leroy Murphy is a very similar type of style. I know he's not the exact same as Leon Edwards, but he kind of reminds me of like a similar prototype as far as he just gets things done. He doesn't always look the best. He doesn't dominate every single fight, but he wins a lot of these fights. Ricardo Ramos beat him. Douglas Silva de Andrade won that, beat Makwan Amirkhani after losing round one, won a split against Gabriel Santos, very close fight, and then beat Josh Kulibau. I get it. The level of competition has been on the side of Edson Barboza. Edson Barboza's fought a ton of amazing fighters, but Leroy Murphy, this is his time. Edson Barboza, he's 38. He hasn't looked great in his last few. I know people are going to say, oh, well, he won the Sadiq Youssef fight. He won that one, but he got dropped. He didn't look amazing to me. I think Leroy Murphy will just find a way to get it done. He always does. The grappling as well. He can implement the wrestling against Edson Barboza. He definitely can. And if he uses that to his advantage, I think he has the well-roundedness to be able to beat a guy like Edson in this stage of his career. First main event for Murphy as well. So you could factor that in, but I think he'll be fine. Like I said, I just think he's one of those guys. He's 13-0. He finds a way to get it done. Doesn't always look pretty, doesn't always look the best, but he just finds ways to win, right? He finds ways to win. If he has to wrestle, he'll wrestle. If he has to strike, he'll strike. He's not the best in any department. Like, he's not the best wrestler. He's not the best grappler. He's not the most powerful guy. He's not the best striker. But his well-rounded ability is very good. He just finds ways to get it done. He knows what he has to do. He's a smart fighter, very smart fighter, which is why I compare him to Leon. Leon is also a very smart fighter. And I think Leroy Murphy will get this done. And I think on the mic after this fight, he'll call for a top 15 or maybe even top 10 opponent at UFC Manchester, which is coming up in like 2 months from now. So if Murphy wins, he's going to call a shot for UFC Manchester. I think that's what will happen here. I think that's part of the reason. I think UFC wants another British star, and I think Murphy can get this one done in the main event. So those are my full card predictions for UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Murphy. I know I went through this pretty quickly, but like I said, I'm going on vacation very soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, I will see you in the next one.